Hello, this is Nicholas. Um, a fun fact for you: do you know that Godzilla will enter the public domain in 2049? According to blog posts, anyways. So since 1954, it will enter the public domain in 2049, which is 27 years for those of you who don't want to follow the proper channels to write Godzilla stories. To the review.
Okay. Godzilla World of Monsters. Monsters rule the world in this compendium collection of 3 series, Gangsters and Goliath by John Layman, Alberto Ponticella, Cataclysm by Colin Bunn and Dave Watcher, and Oblivion by Joshua Flakov and Brian Churilla. In Gangsters and Goliaths, Detective Makoto Sato is on a quest to bring down the Takahashi crime syndicate. A Sato efforts earn him a one-way trip to the tropical getaway courtesy of Tokyo criminal underworld Monster Island. In Cataclysm, years have passed since a monster apocalypse nearly destroys mankind. Now it is merely a distant, nightmarish memory of Hiroshi, an elderly and one of the few remaining tribes of humans. Little does Hiroshi know that the apocalypse is not over and that his memories of the past may yet save the future in oblivion. A scientist has created a portal to another dimension, one where monsters rule supreme, and exposition begins into a world where hope has died and Godzilla is the unrivaled king of monsters. But what happens when a baby hijacks a ride back to the original monsterless dimension? Okay, I'm gonna be quick with this. Godzilla World of Monsters is 335 pages long and is published by IDW Publishing. Act 1, page 9 starts with Makoto Sato washing up on the beach. We follow a more panel to panel basis of moment to moment movement. So moment to moment transitions while Makoto wakes up. And then in his action sequences, we go from action to action of Makoto, fighting his way away. We also have big transitions in time because from year to year, here is 3 hours before this happens. And so they have transitions back in time a lot. So they will go forward for the beginning of the act, then go back. I don't really like this because they go back twice and it's between action sequences, which is so weird because hey, these are action sequences going on. It's already supposed to be interesting. Anyway, so Makoto Sato, is being framed by Takahashi, and so he escapes to Monster Island, and on Monster Island he meets the Elias who guard the order of Madra, and pretty much the order of force in the island and stuff. And so when the priests aren't looking, he yoinks them and goes back to Tokyo. In Act 2, page 28, Makoto goes back to Tokyo. This isn't in page 28 that I'm showing you, but this is what he does in Tokyo. With power of Madra now, he goes back to his chief. His chief arrests him. His chief is actually secretly working for Takahashi. So he confronts his chief, and the chief is blah blah blah, I'm gonna put you in prison, nobody's gonna know what I did, blah 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 and stuff. So Makoto Sato threatens the Elias, and he uses Madara, and he wages a one-man war on Takahashi. I like this panel style right here because it has an interesting combination of subject to subject and let's see moment to moment. So this is Makoto Sato having the same conversation with his son, right? And we go from moment to moment in this, but in these further back transitions of the page, you see more of a subject to subject in which he's going places to places and destroying the Takahashi crime syndicate's businesses. And so Kato Sato still threatens the Elias, but they tell him, "Yo, you need to take us back to the island," and then the reason why comes to them, and Godzilla is rampaging, and Godzilla comes to his hotel room and it's "Yo, you have something of ours." So in Act 3, page 69, the kaijus are wreaking havoc. Takahashi gains the Elias. He holds Tokyo hostage. There's these back in time panels. This is him at the bar, and this is probably like 3 hours earlier, the priests come to Tokyo. They meet Takahashi outside, and they try and talk reason into Takahashi, and Takahashi just murks them on the street, and continues on his quest, to create havoc on the world. And so, like, Makoto Sato allies with his sons, and they steal Mecha Godzilla, and then like this is another like scene to scene, actually scene to scene. Those long transitions in time are actually scene to scene. So like yeah, so pretty much we have moment to moment, we have some action to action, we have some subject to subject, and we have some scene to scene. But like scene to scenes are usually when the kaiju are like monstrously breaking through buildings and stuff, and like subject to subject are usually like when we see the monsters from like the human point of view, and action to action are when like Makoto is in like like human to human action conflict, and then moment to moment is like just like slow moments in which you see the person's face. So going on, like we go to Act 1, page 123 of Masashi's story. He's an old man, and he has memories of when Godzilla and the kaijus wreaked havoc on Tokyo and the world, and pretty much destroyed the world because they were enraged by something humans did, and they thought the apocalypse is over. And so the humans are like, the kids are like looking for supplies and everything. And they run into the monsters, and the monsters are fighting. And Godzilla and Madara are fighting over another monster who is Bylanta. Anyways, so Mahashi is also having nightmares about his past misdeeds, in which, he did something to piss off Godzilla, and Godzilla wrecked the world. So, like, we find out that one of the kids as a piece of Bylanta, and Godzilla hasn't killed the monster in Act 2, page 163. And so, like, since like Godzilla hasn't killed the monster completely, they have hope to like revegetate the entire world because Bylante's power. And so, like, they go on a quest to find a place in which Godzilla won't like attack Bylante. And Mahashi reveals the secret that he was in a government program with psychics, and he's the last of the psychics who are still alive, who tried to subjugate Godzilla to their mindset, and instead enraged all the kaijus, and those kaijus destroyed the world because of it. And so, like, at the end, Masashi, Act 3, page 205, Destroyer. Masashi awakens Destroyer because he's psychically connected to Destroyer, and at the same time he's psychically connected to Godzilla. And so, like, when he dies, Godzilla decides, okay, like, I'll let Bylante revegetate the earth. And so he teams up with Madara, and they defeat Destroyer. And then in Act 1, page 229, you see it's a completely different art style now. So, like, pretty much we have scientists, and this scientist is Dr. Talbert, and pretty much the main characters are Dr. Talbert and Miss Yamada. And Dr. Talbert's life work is to create a dimensional portal. He creates a dimensional portal, and they go through it, and unfortunately they leave it open, and Ghidorah escapes into their dimension, wreaks havoc. And here's a big transition between time. This is a scene-to-scene transition. And before that, when Ghidorah comes out into the world, it's kind of more like a subject-to-subject transition. But, like, at the same time, it's an action-to-action transition because, like, it's reliant on our imaginations, like, to know what happened from here to here. But, like, at the same time, like, there's just such a big gap that I feel like it's more of a subject-to-subject transition, because, like, you have to, like, imagine, like, oh, he covered so much space to just blast through the building like that. Anyways, so, like, scene to scene, we go into the future transition in time, and Miss Yamada and Dr. Talbot are in prison. Miss Yamada is not a relatable character. Like most of the characters in this series are not really relatable, in that we don't really feel sorry for them. You know, like they wreak havoc on the world because they can. Anyways, so like they're enlisted to fix their mess. So they go back into the dimension and they lower Godzilla into their dimension and try and nuke both Godzilla and Ghidorah at the same time, but it doesn't kill him. And then the people of the other dimension lower all the monsters from their dimension into their world, and so like the people have to escape their world into Godzilla's world, and that's the end of the story. I wouldn't really recommend Godzilla World of Monsters because I found it a little bit dull. It's because like it's Godzilla is the main character, but also you have to have other characters because Godzilla can't talk, and so like it creates like a weird like dynamic in which like the main characters of the stories aren't really very how do you say you don't root for them. You cannot root for these main characters, and so like it creates a weird dynamic between that. But at the same time, I would recommend it because it like teaches you how to like do like like some good combinations with subject to subject and action to action, especially when it comes to like big characters. I feel like with big monsters like Godzilla, it's action to action and subject to subject. It's like a weird mix and hybrid between that. Anyways, that's the end. Oh yeah, one last thing I should add is that every character does have a proper character arc in which they have like a redemption. Like for Makoto Sato, he begins his story as like he's just looking out for himself, but in the end, he becomes the replacement priest for the Elias to guard them. And for Miss Yamada, she kind of at least a little bit admits that she is the one who like created a scenario that ends the world. And for Mahashi, well, he's already gone through most of his character arc, but in the end, he's like, okay, I'm sorry, I apologize to Godzilla for always praying that he never comes back. It is my fault, and please forgive me and don't destroy the world. And that's pretty much their arcs. They make mistakes, the humans make mistakes, and Godzilla is part of that. Like sometimes he's forgiven, sometimes he's not.